I'm waiting for the little sign. There it is.
There it is.
Go.
I love how we start these every single time with oh, is it recording?
We just have to check, you know.
We're so professional.
I'm not the best at technology. This is probably the most techie thing I'm actually capable of.
Neither am I, and that's worrying because I am technically a middle manager in IT now, which I don't know how I ended up in that situation. It's a running joke. Yeah.
Next time you're taking over, you do all the buttons.
Nah.
I
genuinely once Googled, sorry, this is a terrible intro. Let's stop talking about work. Hello, we're here to talk about Dracula.
Hello and welcome. Episode 3 of the Overdramatic Book Fanatics. Hi, Abby.
Hi, Ashley. Hello, friend Ashley. How are you?
Hello, friend Abby. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to talk about this book. I was thinking about all of these things, and one of my first thoughts was like, I need to say hi to Abby as hi, friend Abby.
It's just, it's become part of our daily life now, hasn't it?
It's become part of our daily life. Hello, everybody that is watching. We are so excited to be filming episode 3 of Overdramatic Book Fanatics, where we are going to be discussing a timeless classic horror. And I can't believe I hadn't read it, Abby. I can't believe I hadn't read it.
I don't know how. I mean, I've had it on my shelf for a really long time, but I don't think I get points for that. So
no, I'll give you a half point for the fact that it was on the TBR. It wasn't even on my TBR. That's bad, isn't it? I didn't even really think about it. I should probably.
Yeah, I did a derail, didn't I? I said I wanted to read Dracula, and then made you buddy read it with me.
I'm coming. But we are talking about Dracula by Bram Stoker. Abby.
Ashley.
I have so many things to discuss, but just before we dive in, I have to just say one thing really quickly, which is, how on earth was this written so long ago?
Yeah, I don't know. It read really modern, didn't it?
Really modern. I was reading, I started the first page and I thought, no, this isn't. And I had to go back and check. And when was it actually published? Was it earlier?
I think it was like, I feel like it was 1880s. Do you know what? I could just look. I've got it here in front of me.
Just look. I honestly could not believe how early this was published. Oh, 1897.
Oh, okay. A bit later than I thought. That's pretty early, though.
Published. I don't think it's when it was written, but it's when it's published. And honestly, if anybody's watching this who has ever thought, oh, I'm not sure if I want to read something written that long ago, I used to think that, and this has changed my mind. So that's just the first thing I wanted to draw upon.
Yeah, it was a really easy read, I think, as far as not just as far as classics go. It was quite accessible, I thought. I do have some vampire questions for you before we dive into the Dracula chat.
I'm so ready.
I have some extremely serious vampire questions that I spent a long time thinking about. I definitely didn't come up with these 45 minutes ago. Okay, so fave vampire TV show or movie?
Okay. Movie. I'm trying to be quick fire. Van Helsing.
That makes sense for you. Yeah.
I think it's the first one that comes to mind. I have seen that film probably 15 times throughout my life. It was one of the first films I watched, like vampire films I watched. My dad made me watch it. He didn't force me, but he showed it to me when I was really quite young, like when it came out. So what was that, 2004? And it didn't actually freak me out that much. And it's been a favourite ever since. And now I understand the relevance of said character. Yeah. Can I just say, Hugh Jackman is not the image.
Not the vibe.
Not the image.
The vibe. No.
However, totally fine with it. I had a massive crush on him. Van Helsing.
Nice.
What about you?
Good answer. Ooh, I think it might be What We Do in the Shadows, but the TV show, not the movie. I've not seen the movie. But it's a, like, I don't know if sitcom's the right word, but it's a very funny, unserious vampire TV show that I really, really enjoy. And you haven't watched it, have you?
I have not watched it.
You should. You should. It's very good.
Right. I will add it to the list. I'll add it to the list.
And then I can send you gifts of Matt Berry from gifts even of Matt Berry, and that would be great.
Yes.
Okay.
Any
favorite vampire book? I feel like I know what you're going to say, but I had to ask.
Dracula? No. I think it might have to be possibly maybe Empire of the Vampire, maybe, just maybe.
Shocking. Alert the police.
I think sue me. I just don't, because I can't talk about it, because I literally was thinking about Empire of the Dawn the whole drive home today. It might have not helped that I was listening to like a mixture of Bad Omens and Sleep Token on repeat, so it was just in the frame.
Synonymous,
and
yeah.
I've had, not in a weird way, but I've had Jay Kristoff on the mind. I did a talk about Empire of the Damned yesterday with Jake from Nerd Level Rising, so it's all on the brain.
That makes sense. It's very on brand.
It's me.
Okay.
What about you?
Oh my god, I don't know. Probably Empire of the Vampire. Yeah.
Sue us.
I actually haven't read that many vampire books, to be fair.
Read that many either.
Which I do plan to change, but yeah, I just haven't. I think I went through a phase where I thought I'd outgrown vampires.
Oh, I haven't outgrown them at all. I'm regressing.
And then, I think I read a couple of things and then was like, oh, actually, no, vampires are still pretty cool. But I think they were like a teenage fixation for me. And then I thought I'd outgrown them, and then I very much haven't, but I need to correct it. What is your favorite piece of vampire lore?
Oh, that's a good question. I have many. I love the sort of classic, sort of linking it to like the religious sort of side of it. So things like holy water burns them, those kinds of things. I find all that. I love the kind of how it's sort of woven into religion. I love that. A lot of the lore stems from that. But I do also really love the fact that they don't have reflections.
Yeah, that's what my answer is. I just think that's really creepy. It's
so
just
creepy.
so like, it sounds so simple, but it's so unsettling.
Really unsettling. And specifically, the first time I came across it was in Van Helsing, because there is a scene where Count Dracula is like dancing. That's not a dance, but he was like whipping Kate Beckinsale's character around on the dance floor, like not drops her, like, I don't know, he like flips her.
I was going to say slut drop, which is definitely not not what happens.
The 1870s version of the slut drop, while he's holding over her, and in the mirror she's like laying there and he's not there. And I remember just ever since then thinking like, that is just so creepy. The fact that he's dead, I like it. I like it. So, yeah, I would say that. Yeah,
I agree. That is really creepy. Okay. Vampire or vampire hunter?
Oh, that's difficult, because my favourite kind is both.
But that's a cheat answer.
Gabriel de Leon is both.
Yeah, to be fair. Yeah, okay, fair.
No, I'm going to go with vampire hunter, because it encapsulates both. You've got Van Helsing, you've got Gabriel de Leon in there.
Yeah.
I'm going
vampire
hunter. What about you?
I think I would also go vampire hunter, because I just don't think I could cope with only being allowed out in the dark.
Right. This is another thing. I can't stand the fact that I drive to work in the dark and come home in the dark. That's literally their peak day. Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's the whole like murder and, you know, stuff like that as well, which would probably be quite difficult to wrap my head around. But in terms of like my lived experience, the first thing I think of is living in the dark and becoming a nighttime creature. And I just don't think I could do that.
I mean, Edward Cullen proved that it's fine because they can be vegetarian. It can be less creepy.
Indeed.
Possibly.
I mean, I don't know that he's the best example of being not creepy, but
I was never Team Edward, I'm not going to lie.
Funny you say that. I'm going to come on to that later.
Oh,
Okay, so following on from that, what would your weapon of choice be as a vampire hunter? How would you want to be like? How would you want to take down the vampires?
Ash drinker. No.
Nice.
I'm gonna say if I was going to choose anything, I'm not strong enough to handle a sword. Like absolutely no. Like I've got no shoulder strength
I mean, I
whatsoever.
don't know, mate. I've seen you hold pretty impressive stacks of books.
Thank you.
Biceps McGee over here.
I do. I do try and like have a timer on my camera, and I'm like, go, 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 go.
Yeah.
You can't see the shudder, but no, I'm not strong enough to wield a sword. I'm thinking if it's me right now, and I'm gonna go and kill a vampire, what am I gonna use? And I want to use something cool. To be honest, I'm just gonna nick it from Van Helsing. He's got a crossbow, and it's badass.
I thought that might be your answer. Yeah, I like that.
But to be fair, Anna in Van Helsing, she has a sword. If she can handle it, I can handle it. No, I'm going to go crossbow as badass. What about you?
If we're talking realistically, I have got terrible aim and coordination, so crossbow would be off the table because I just would not be successful with that. I think it would have to be a classic stake. Even though that's risky, I think that would be the only way. I've not got the strength and I've not got the coordination for anything else. It's just going to have to be a get up close and.
You've got more chance of killing a vampire than I have. If I'm trying to like subtly whip out a massive crossbow, whereas you can just have a little like stake down your arm and.
Like an Assassin's Creed with the sleeve knives. Yeah.
Yes.
That's way cooler than what I was imagining. Okay. If you were a vampire, how would you use all of the extra time you gained from not needing to sleep? This is a question that Amy came up with to read. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Obviously.
I mean, there are other activities that we could do as well. But predominantly I'd be reading. Or just having a little time with Ernie. I don't get to see Ernie during the day.
No, you don't.
I probably should include actually spending time with my partner as well. But Ernie and books, I probably shouldn't have mentioned them above him. But
you could do audiobooks and walk Ernie.
That's it. Incorporating both. And
then you're getting outside time as well in the night.
Amazing. Would you read books as well?
Obviously, yeah.
Easy.
Something that I regularly say to Joel, my partner, is I wish that I could read in my sleep. And I don't mean that I could dream about reading.
Right.
I mean that I wish I could go to sleep and in my brain be reading a book.
Yeah.
I really hate dreaming. This is a tangent, but I really don't like dreaming. I dream really, really vividly. So when I wake up having had a dream, I feel so anxious and confused because whatever has just happened, I just it's horrible. It feels so real. But I would like to be able to read and pass the time that way. That would be great.
Yes, I'm on board with this. We need a scientific breakthrough somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, although, I mean, I don't know. We probably do need the rest.
We probably do need the sleep.
Okay. Final question.
I'm loving these.
Can we talk about Twilight for a minute?
I've asked for the 20th anniversary paperback of Twilight for Christmas because I saw it in Waterstones the other day and I thought, you know what? One, it's stunning. Two, do you know what? No shame. I have no shame. I will die on the hill that Twilight has been a huge part of my life.
Do you think Dracula or Twilight is the more formative vampire book? For you specifically, I mean. I don't mean culturally.
I was going to say Twilight. Joke.
Yeah.
No, for me, it probably is Twilight, to be honest, because for me, we were the right age at the right time. I think. I mean, I know I'm a little bit older than you. I'm a little bit older than you, but we were the right age at the right time. Twilight came out when I was 12. No, 12. Yeah, I was 12 when it came out, which is literally perfect. So the whole time that all of the films were coming out, I was in those weird teenage years, and it was perfect. It was just they were I had posters. Or my parents really capitalized on the fact that I loved the Twilight films. So for Christmas, they were like, well, we'll just get Ash loads of Twilight stuff. So I had Twilight posters. I had a Jacob poster. I had an Edward poster. I had a general poster of the whole family. I had bookmarks, key rings. Everything was Twilight. So it was pretty big. And I think also because I think a lot of the inspiration that has come from Twilight has impacted so many other things that
it brought vampires into the like not public sphere, but like they made them like popular in these romantic figures, I think, for our generation. Like
and also giving them making them high schooly and kind of weirdly like relatable. And also I was a massive Muse fan, so the fact that Muse were in like Stephenie Meyer, I don't know how to say her name, Stephenie Meyer, she was a massive Muse fan, so there was all that crossover. It was perfect. I feel sorry. No, I don't feel sorry. I don't pity them, but I do feel a little bit sorry for them, for the people that are growing up as teens now.
There isn't something comparable, I don't think. Like, I think we got quite lucky with Twilight and with the Hunger Games. Like, they were incredible things to experience in real time. And I can't think of something that's like similar now.
No.
Maybe there is. There probably is, and I'm just too old.
There probably is. It's just we're not in that space.
Part of it, yeah.
It was huge, wasn't it? It was huge.
Oh yeah. I was deeply obsessed. And I can remember having I was so frustrated because I had the first 3 books. I was given them for Christmas, and it was before the 4th one had come out. And then the 4th one, my school library had it. And my friend had the 4th one out of the library for ages and was deliberately not returning it because he knew it was annoying me that I couldn't read it. And like, man, that made me mad. But yeah, I was obsessed. And I don't know how well it would stand up for me personally, as to what my taste is now versus then. I'm too scared to reread them because I don't want to ruin the like perfect memory that I have of what that experience was. I do love the movies though.
I love the movies. I rewatch them every year. I'm admitting all of this stuff, like honestly, no I love it.
Okay, so you weren't Team Edward, it sounds like.
I was not Team Edward.
Yeah.
When I was younger, full on, I was Team Jacob. I was Team Jacob. I love the werewolves. I love the wolves. I love wolves.
Yeah.
And so I was always Team Jacob out of those 2. But I was neither. No, technically. Team Jasper.
See, this is so interesting to me. You already know this, but I was such a Jasper girly. And it's so wild to me now because when I think about it with my adult brain, why was he a Confederate soldier? That did not serve the plot at all. It makes no sense. It wasn't relevant.
No idea.
That was he did not need to be. That was dodgy. But I did really fancy that actor.
I really fancied the actor. I think it was the fact that he was from Texas, so he had this like the way he would talk to Bella.
It was the hair for me as well. I liked the hair. Yeah.
And the fact he would say "ma'am," and I'd just
yeah. Whereas now I'm a Charlie girl.
Now I'm
obviously
Charlie. Daddy Swan.
Yeah. He's a great dad.
Can I just say, I said the words Daddy Swan in front of my partner the other day, and he looked at me like I'd just broken wind. Disgust. And I was like, look, because I'm like, he's going to kill me if he sees this. But have you ever seen Modern Family?
Yeah.
He really fancies the mum, Claire Dunphy.
I get that. Yeah.
Right. Gorgeous. I really fancy Phil. Her husband.
I can do that as well.
And I was like, but they're the same age. I was telling him that, I was like, they're the same age. But he just thought, the minute I said like Charlie Swan, he looked at me like I was so weird. And I was like, it's the same age as Claire.
I'm sorry, Harry. No, I'm gonna have to find I'm gonna find that video that is sexy back, but it's just every time that Charlie's on screen. And I need you to show it to him, and he has to watch it until he understands.
Charlie Swan is
he's that guy.
He's that guy. But no, between Jacob and Edward, I was always Team Jacob because I love wolves. But other than that, it was Jasper, Charlie, and Carlisle.
See, I never. I think Carlisle was too like. Is clean the right word? There was just like a sharpness to his vibe that just didn't really work for me. But I do hear that from a lot of people.
I think again it was
Daddy
how
Cullen.
nice he was.
Mm.
But yeah, but no, I will die on this hill. I think the Twilight films and books were huge, and though I do look back on them with a tiny bit of cringe, there is such a huge part of me that would love to go back to like that 2010 emo time, and just like even the music and everything. I want to go to Forks.
That's where my love for Paramore started as well, was those movies, because I didn't know that they existed before that. So
this is what I mean. It formed us
foundational. Yeah.
This is why we are the way we are. If we didn't watch Twilight, you and I never would have met. I can guarantee it.
Do you know what? I think we could probably track that. There's something there. The Twilight to Empire of the Vampire pipeline.
It is. It's science. I loved that. Thank you for all of those questions. Those were
You're very welcome.
I
loved your answers
over so many things.
It was mainly so that I had a way of making Twilight relevant to talk about.
You didn't. I mean, I appreciate the journey there, but you didn't need to go there. Honestly, you could have gone straight in. I'd have been like, yes, we're having this conversation. This is excellent.
I suppose we should talk about Dracula now.
We should probably talk about Dracula. Now, just for people that are watching, if you're still here, thank you. I know it's taken us a while, but this is really important. Twilight was huge.
It was.
Abi and I, prior to having a discussion, we always do have to do a bit of an exchange of questions so that we don't like stumble over each other and just basically copy each other. However, much with our two previous chats, Abi sent me her list of questions and it was exactly the same as my list of questions. So I decided to be lazy and not change anything. And I just thought between us, we will cover all bases. So can I ask you a question, Abi? Because I feel like I've rambled on for way too long.
Yes, of course.
Now, this is one of your questions, but kind of like a backwards way of asking it. So, my question for you is, how familiar were you with the story of Dracula prior to reading the book? Had you read much that was like directly based on it? Had you seen any film adaptations of Dracula? How much did you know going in? I have something to contribute, but I will shut up for a little bit because I want to hear from you. But what did you have in your brain going into this about Dracula?
So I knew very little, actually. Like my main experience with vampire books was in the sort of paranormal romance category of books. But Dracula had been on my shelf for a really long time. I haven't seen the film. I know that we're going to watch it at some point. I've never seen it.
It's the Gary Oldman version for people that are wondering.
Yeah. So I didn't know much. I mean, I knew what is like in the kind of pop culture, I guess, of like the general gothic vibe. And Van Helsing as a character, like obviously that book inspires a lot of things. So I think it's impossible to know nothing going into this book. But I didn't know anything about like the characters or the plot. I knew that it was like epistolary, but other than that, I didn't know anything at all, which I did, which was fun. It was fun. I don't think you need to have a big like realm of knowledge about it to go in. I think it is very accessible. I think the only thing I had read that was vaguely inspired was Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by B.E. Schwab, which I only read this year because it obviously only came out this year, obviously. But I think it is kind of inspired by Dracula, but I think in a kind of not a tangential way necessarily, but it's not like a direct. I think it's probably more inspired by Carmilla.
Nice.
So even that, like I think everything vampire-y is kind of inspired by Dracula, though, isn't it? Like
yeah, whether directly or indirectly, because so much of it's become common sort of like it's almost like common law, isn't it? Like we all know what vampires are, regardless of whether we've read it or not.
Yeah, exactly. It's impossible to not know anything, but I didn't know anything about the like specifics of the book. I guess I just had like a few bullet points. What about you?
I knew a few things. I knew the format, the structure. I knew that it was going to be in terms of like it wasn't going to be a traditional sort of the way it was written. This is why I kind of thought it was quite modern, because obviously the structure, which I think we will talk about a bit more later. But I knew about the structure prior to going in, because I'd heard other people talk about it. The only other things I knew were obviously from what we know, what we just mentioned, sort of like common law that we know of vampires. Obviously, stuff like Van Helsing, the film. It baffled me because I remember watching Van Helsing for years and years, because I've watched it. I probably watch it every year. I didn't realize that he was actually a character. So that was quite a shocker for me. I couldn't believe it when we actually got to him in the book. I thought, oh my gosh, he actually exists. The So a lot of it I knew from that, but obviously again, that's not directly Dracula. It's just an adaptation. And the only other thing I knew of Dracula was from the film. Sorry if you can hear Ernie whining in the background. It was from Nosferatu, which I didn't realize until reading Dracula. It took me reading Dracula to think, oh my gosh, these are really similar.
Yeah.
And then when I looked into it, I saw that Nosferatu was an adaptation of Dracula. So they are the linear sort of, they are very, very, very similar. Very similar. So actually, reading this, it was almost oddly familiar because so much of it is in Nosferatu. And obviously, I think Nosferatu only came out, was that right at the end of last year, maybe? Or right at the beginning of this year, maybe January?
It's fairly recent.
It was
I've not
very
watched
recent.
it yet.
I saw it in the cinema, and then I saw it a couple of months ago. I think I've seen it twice. I love it. I think it might have been, it was either December last year or January this year. It's really recent. So actually reading this was oddly, like I say, oddly familiar because it's so similar to.
Do you think that you had that it was an easier read because you'd seen the movie, or do you think that it like impacted your expectations of it like as you were reading?
It didn't impact my expectations of it as such. Did it make it easier? I probably can't compare these at the moment, but I'm going to. And I don't mean to compare in terms of similarity. I just mean in terms of my experience. Obviously, you and I are currently reading Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Having seen the films first, it's not as that it doesn't. It's not that it makes the books easier to follow. It's that I already have a very clear image of So when I was picturing characters and the setting for Dracula, I was picturing scenes from Nosferatu and characters from Nosferatu. And then until you get to Van Helsing, who in the film Nosferatu, and he's not, they don't use the same names. So in Nosferatu, it's Count Orlok. It's not, Count Dracula and things like that. But Van Helsing is not called Van Helsing in Nosferatu, but the Nosferatu version of Van Helsing is more like the book, whereas in the film Van Helsing, totally different, an absolute dreamboat. So, I wouldn't say it necessarily made it easier. I think it would have been perfectly accessible without it. It just gave me the images.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, it was, incredibly accessible. But it was quite fun to go into Dracula knowing all of the vampire lore that we do have, because it made me think, wow, this really did influence so much. But also it made me think about what it would have been like to have read this as somebody when it was published. Like, this must have been pretty groundbreaking.
Yeah, I was thinking about that a lot while I was reading, because I think one of the things I did expect going into this, I thought it would be creepier than it is. I didn't find it creepy or scary at all. I have seen people say that they found it super atmospheric and creepy, and that's great. That wasn't my experience. I don't know how much of that was just there are some parts of this book that to me felt very unserious. I mean, we've got the obvious description of Dracula scuttling up the castle like a lizard. Like, I there are moments where it is described, and like the way the language used, it's so it's rather than it being like cinematic, I found like Bram Stoker had a real way of like describing an image. Like I would, rather than it being like a moving picture in my head, it would just be like such a clear image of like the castle, for example. It was just immediately like fantastic image. But then on the other hand, there were moments of just slight silliness to me, and I think that did undercut the kind of creepy vibe. Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that, because one of my questions was, did any of it make you feel on edge or scared, or did you find it humorous?
Yeah, I didn't find it scary. And I don't know, again, so I think probably if I was reading this as, you know, a woman in the early 20th century, probably this would have been really like creepy, because it's unfamiliar stuff and it's lore that we're not familiar with, and I think we're probably quite desensitized to things as well, aren't we, these days? So I appreciate that. But yeah, I was thinking about it a lot while I was reading that. I think this probably would have been more creepy and shocking at the time, but I don't mean that in a bad way.
No,
it didn't detract from my enjoyment of the book at all. I just expected it to be more, because I'm not a horror fan. I know we've talked about this before. Like I like psychological stuff, but I think I've always been a little bit off put of movies like Nosferatu, for example, where they are kind of leaning more into that, like what I think of as horror, where there is a bit more gore and violence. It makes me feel super uncomfortable. So I was a little bit like not anxious, but going in, I was a little bit on the fence as to whether it would be for me. I wanted to have read it because it's a seminal text, but I wasn't sure how I would feel about it. But yeah, I just it didn't give me the creeps once, I'm afraid. So
that's fair. That's fair. I am very, very similar to you. I did not feel, there was no point where I felt really creeped out. I giggled more than I felt creeped out. There were so many moments where I've annotated this quite a lot, but I had you in mind for a lot of it, because I was thinking Abby would laugh at this, and we would message each other, because we read a chapter a day, and we would message.
Which is a great way to read this book, I think.
A great way to read it, but there were so many parts of it that just had me chuckling. There was two things. I've said that I didn't find many bits of it creepy. There were a couple of bits I did find a bit unsettling, but not as in I found them really unsettling, but I thought, oh my gosh, again, using that comparison, if I was someone reading this back then, this would have freaked me out. The scene where you've got the ship logs from the boats that Count Dracula is using to move from Transylvania over, and obviously all of the shipmates are starting to go a bit crackers, and they're all losing it, and then one by one they're being picked off until there's just one ship.
That is quite unsettling to think about, to be fair.
It was really creepy, but I liked that because, again, it was the one part of vampire lore that is kind of explored in a lot of texts, but I don't think it's quite explored in, well, it probably is explored in this way, but you know how in Twilight Edward can like read her mind and stuff. Well, this was like full on, he is mentally influencing other people. And then you could also link that to the other part that I found quite unsettling, which is the kind of possession side of it, where he literally like mentally influences Mina and some other female characters. Predominantly female characters get mentally.
Yeah, I want to clarify, actually. There were parts of it that I found horrifying. I just didn't find it like a scary read. But that, like, but there are objectively horrifying things on the page. Especially like you say, it's primarily female characters that are kind of the victim of a lot of this stuff.
The boat scene freaked me out, but not as in, like I said, I wasn't scared reading it, but I just thought it was very cleverly done. Like, as I say, it was a bit of all of those sort of shipmates off one
super
by one.
Well written.
They were being driven mad, because every now and then there would be a day where they're like, everybody's fine. Nobody's, everybody's here. Nobody's died this time. Nobody's got, because people were going missing. They were going missing. How could someone go missing on a boat? Were they just going over the edge? But then there'd be a day where, like I say, where they would sort of say, oh, it's okay, we've had 3 days, no one's gone missing, everyone's fine, everyone's happy, everyone's eating. And then it would say, oh, the next day, everyone's in really low spirits. People aren't singing, people aren't talking to each other. And it's like that mental side of how he's kind of like controlling them all. I thought that was really well done. And I thought another aspect that I thought was really clever, and I think this is where I kind of felt that it read really modern, is that his kind of influence of like the weather, like the people that were not on the boat knew that something was weird, because it was stormy and everything was going. I thought so that side of it was really atmospheric. So very clever, very clever.
I mean, incredibly well written, gripping story.
I wonder if it's a classic.
This one's going to do well, I think.
I think this one will sell.
Okay, so obviously we've talked a little bit about how the format of this book is. It's told through letters and newspaper clippings and diary entries. What was your opinion on that? Do you think it was better to tell the story that way than to tell it through like a perspective narration, or do you think it could have been good either way?
I think it could have been a good story either way. I think it's such an original story. I mean, like I say, especially if if we're talking about people that are reading this for the first time, I think it could have been great either way. I do love that it was written in all of these journals and letters and telegrams and diary entries. It was, for me, I guess this is probably less from a I'm reading Dracula to a I'm trying to analyze it a little bit more, because there was definitely an element of how long ago this was written. Part of me was really thinking about the sort of society and like, that the kind of not politics, definitely some socio sort of like
the norms. Yeah.
Yes. And so getting into, obviously knowing some male writer, getting into the minds of all of these different characters and what's going on from different, like it's very early POVs, isn't it? We have a lot of stories nowadays that are multi POV, but back then it was less of a thing. To my knowledge, it was less of a thing. So, but I thought that was really clever, and I think it added to the spookiness, because you can kind of see, because each account was so personal. And you were getting each character's own experience of Dracula or other people, and even if they didn't know about him directly, what was just going on because of it. It was really interesting to see them question what was going on around them, and put all of their emotions into it, because a lot of the fear in this book came from the fear of the characters of what was around them, and as they were uncovering things. So I think that the format of all of the letters and diaries and all of that stuff really added to that. But it also added to the humor. I found so many aspects of the letters and the diaries absolutely
I did as well.
Well,
because it's people, they include details, don't they, of just their like daily life. Like it's not all about Dracula all the time, which was some of my favorite bits. Like it's definitely the letters. I can remember you texting me when you first read the letters where it swaps to Mina Harker, or Mina not Harker at the start. I can remember. I think you said it's like Bridgerton. It's like, because they're just talking about their like marriage prospects and their engagement, and there are times where it is very much man writing women. Like it does have that flavor, but it's so entertaining, because you go from this like gothic horror story that one character is experiencing into tea and fiancés, which was really funny.
That transition is really funny, isn't it? Because we start the book with Jonathan Harker with his diaries of him being invited to Count Dracula's, castle, and doing all of his work for him, and being creeped out, and then and seeing him scuttle on the wall like a lizard, and all of these things going really odd. Then you skip to Mina's journal, or Mina's letters to her friend, and it's like a bit of whiplash, because one of the characters this was one of the funniest bits, and I remember messaging you when I read it because I just thought it was utterly hilarious. And this is so the Bridgerton-esque side of it is when I think was it Mina? I think it was Mina, or was it Mina's friend? Might have been Mina's friend. One of them had written to the other one like about all of their love prospects, and had written about how one of them, he had an incredibly large forehead and a fantastic eyebrow, and he owned a mental
An
asylum.
entire mental asylum.
Whole one. He owned the whole one, not even just the bit
Yeah.
of it. And I just thought it was utterly hilarious because I just thought, God, isn't that so funny? Can you imagine just yapping to your friends? And
Meanwhile, Jonathan's literally fighting for his life.
I was just picturing them talking about like their Tinder
I know.
profile, and I was just imagined his Tinder profile, like his photo is him with a massive forehead, and then just this little thing like I own a mental asylum. And that's all I could picture, and I just thought it was great. But yes,
Yeah.
meanwhile, you're right, Jonathan Harker fighting for his life with a man with hairy backs of hands scuttling around the walls.
Gosh.
The bit when
Yeah.
Jonathan goes in and sees him asleep in the coffin, I was like, poor Jonathan, get out of there.
Oh, do you know what as well? I did find, speaking of like the parts that we found a little bit unsettling, when he first like encounters the wives, I thought that was like really eerie and like it is dreamlike, isn't it? I wish we got more from them, I won't lie. I wish we got more from them.
The same thing. They did not appear anymore.
No, they're just I have to caveat what I'm about to say with, I have not read this book in an academic way at all. And I probably will do some more research around, because it can probably be analysed really in depth. But that wasn't my experience of reading it. So it felt disingenuous to go and do a load of research before filming this. But I know that there's a lot of like interpretations of this book around how essentially Bram Stoker was pretty sexually repressed and had a lot of like problematic views on sex in general, and there's a lot of like stuff that you can interpret in this book around that. I didn't really that wasn't in my mind while I was reading it. That didn't impact my experience at all of the book. But that one element of the fact that these wives kind of only come into it once, for Jonathan to have what is a very erotic experience to hear him retell it, and then to just disappear and kind of not be heard from again until they're being staked through the heart, wasn't my fave. I wish we got more from them. But then I did really like that about Bury Our Bones, like that kind of, she took that one element and kind of expanded on it. So
yeah, I think that's definitely something that has sort of been taken from classic Dracula and worked on, isn't it? Because when I was reading the scene, it made me think of Dracula's wives in the film Van Helsing, because not maybe quite with the clothing, but because they very much move and speak like how they do in this book, and that's what I had in my head. But I also thought that's something you've drawn on an interesting point, because I've not read the introduction to this. I need to read the introduction. I wanted to read it afterwards, having like the context of the information.
Yeah.
But one of the things, that's really, here we go. A masterpiece of the horror genre, Dracula also probes identity, sanity, and there's a lot of talk about sanity in here, and the dark corners of Victorian sexuality and desire.
Yeah.
This must have been so bold at the time, because Abby, we've read books with smut. I know you've read, Bride and Mate, and I know they're a little bit steamy. Empire the Vampire,
a little bit, yeah.
Hot under the collar a little bit. I didn't read this and think, wow, but it's so different. It's quite subtle. The bride section is a little bit, but it's still not overpowering, because nothing really happens too much. It's sort of like thoughts.
Yeah.
So much of it comes through for me when Mina is possessed.
Yeah.
She,
Yeah, I can get that.
because she loses, but this is the
She loses
interesting.
some autonomy, doesn't she, there?
She loses all autonomy, and it's almost as if Dracula possessing her releases these like inner desires. And yet all the men are like, oh, she's gone mad, you know. But really, I
Yeah.
was thinking, I think she's being totally fine.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because so I haven't read the full introduction. I've read like a few pages of it. And I think some of the analysis around like the eroticism of this story, I think also is within the context of Bram Stoker's other writings. Like I think he did articles for newspapers and things, kind of. I distinctly read a sentence about how sex isn't unnatural, but neither is sin, and something about how like women are more of the problem in this regard. Classic.
Aren't we always?
But I will be totally honest to say that I'm sure that's there. Like very clever people have analysed this story, and if they say it's there, it's there. But it wasn't at the forefront of my mind while I was reading.
No,
at all.
I think you and me had a very similar experience in terms of that we felt a lack of seriousness in the book.
Yeah, I just found it a really enjoyable story, to be honest. And I really liked a lot of the characters.
Yes, I have to say, and that this isn't detracting from the experience that I would have had if I was reading it alone, but I have to admit, buddy reading it with you and chatting about it, like, and just sending little sections each day made it so much funnier, I think, for me, and just an all better experience. But also that we would sort of question what certain characters were doing. We were like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that?" and things like that. That made me smile. I do just want to ask though, because you asked me, so I really quickly just want to ask you, because I don't know if I actually heard your thoughts on this because I blabbered too much. But what did you think that the format was? How did you find it? Did you think
I
that it
loved
would have
it.
been better without it, or?
I really like a kind of a letter format for a book, and I think it's really interesting that so many vampire books seem to kind of play with format a little bit. Like obviously you've got Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire as well.
It's on my list.
Yeah, me too, because of this.
Buddy read.
But I mean, yeah, everything's a buddy read. I really enjoyed it, and I do think the fact that we were buddy reading it and we were doing one chapter a day helped with that format, because it felt like I was just like catching up on whatever the newspapers were, or like I think because it is a relatively slow paced story until maybe about 60-70%. I think reading one chapter a day really helped with that, but then because it was the letters format, it was just really fun. And also you get to have like you say, the multi-POV thing was probably quite unique at the time, but then also it kind of increased the stakes a little bit for me, because this is just like a cobbled together collection of what happened. And I think there's a level of security as a reader when you're reading something in somebody's POV. There's an assumption that, especially if it's single POV, less so when it's multi POV, but generally speaking, most of your POV characters make it most of the way through the book. And some authors subvert that, but I think most of the time that is probably true. And I think having it be in this kind of format made it feel slightly higher stakes to me, because there's no reason why the diary couldn't just stop, if that makes sense. Like then it would be picked up with somebody else's diary and carry on. Like it's not it centers the story around Dracula rather than the characters, even though Dracula's on page very little. I thought it was a clever way of doing that. Yeah.
Yes. No, I completely agree with you. I hadn't thought of it in that way, but I would agree with that wholeheartedly. And also that is something that I'm glad you mentioned, in terms of the fact that Dracula is on page very little, isn't he? It's so interesting. It's a bit like the Jaws effect. I don't know if you've seen the film Jaws, but the shark is on screen for something like, I think of the whole, like, I don't know, it's like 2 hours and 45 minutes that the film lasts. I think the shark is only on screen for something like less than 90 seconds, or it's something ridiculous.
Oh, really?
It's something,
I haven't
it's
seen
something
it.
like that, where he's
Yeah,
only featured
it's
just
a really small amount of time.
yeah, but the
But it's the
build
psychological effect and the kind of impact of all the actions, and yeah.
exactly. And I think because we see so many different sides to Dracula, because obviously, like, um, Jonathan Harker, obviously, actually with Dracula a lot of the time, and obviously towards the end, you get that as well. But then a lot of it, like for example, like Dr. Seward, you know, he's kind of seeing it through his patient.
Yeah.
He doesn't know he's seeing it, but he's seeing it through his patient. Obviously, you've got all like the stuff with the ships. Like it's kind of, you know, it's they don't really know what's going on. They just know something's going on. We know it's Dracula, but they don't. And I thought that was really interesting because a lot of the time we were in the know a lot more than the
Yeah.
characters, which was a really fun position to be in. And then obviously later on in the book you get it through Mina's possession, all of that, and then obviously Jonathan has his experience, so he brings that to the table. But yeah, no, I agree with you. He's such a prominent figure, but yet is so background as well.
Yeah.
It's really clever. Loved it.
Yeah, I did. I loved it. I didn't expect to love it. I thought I might enjoy it. I didn't expect to love it, which I really did.
You said that when you did your review, didn't you? That you didn't expect to quite love it as much as you did. I'm the same.
Yeah.
I didn't think I would love it as much as I did.
I think it was just sometimes that helps though. I think when you go into a read not having loads of expectations, I think especially being on Bookstagram
Yes.
these days, I do have quite a lot of expectations or pre-knowledge going into a book, and I forget how much I love to just pick something up relatively blind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
No,
fantastic.
I agree wholeheartedly, because you can, so much of your experience can be down to what you're already assuming your experience is going to be. And so
then it's like, is it the book that I'm like disappointed or whatever in, or is it just that it wasn't what I expected it to be? That it's really hard to kind of pick that apart.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think actually, I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning his videos in this, but Jake was talking about Sun Eater in one of his videos the other day. He'd attended the gala for Sun Eater and had got the book, and he said about how he's tried not to watch anything. Like it's his favorite series of all time, but he has just avoided anything because he just does not want anything to even remotely impact
I
his
get that.
thoughts.
Yeah.
Which and I think oddly for us, as classic of a book as this is, and as famous of a book as this is, I did feel like I was going in pretty blind.
Yeah.
Which was lovely.
It's nice. It's refreshing. It's funny that I can go into a book released a couple of months ago with all of these expectations and knowledge about it, and yet a book literally released over 100 years ago, I've got like nothing.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah.
Odd, isn't it? Okay. Most memorable scene.
There are many.
There
are many. We've mentioned it already, but the lizard. The lizard was honestly, I choked. If I'd have been drinking coffee, I would have choked. I couldn't believe how it was. I think I mentioned it in one of my videos because it just caught me by surprise.
Yeah.
I've never read something that it's meant to be terrifying. I'm guessing that was Bram's idea, right? I'm guessing he was writing it. This wasn't a
I mean, yeah, we're pretty used to lizards now, I guess.
Right.
Maybe they weren't then. It doesn't have the gravitas.
No.
That I would expect Dracula to be associated with.
Honestly, was not imagining that, but it happened, and I could not have been happier about it. It was
honestly
great.
It kind of went like, before that moment, Dracula was a very like imposing gothic figure in my mind, and then after that moment, and again, you've not seen What We Do in the Shadows, but as soon as you do, you will completely understand why this is funny. There's a character called Nandor the Relentless in that, who I think is like a parody of Dracula. I think he is supposed to be a parody of Dracula. But he very much, like, it became Nandor in my head at that point. Like, as soon as he was described as a lizard and it became less serious, he was Nandor.
I've just found it. But my very feelings changed to repulsion and terror when I saw the whole man slowly emerge from the window and begin to crawl down the castle wall over that dreadful abyss, face down with his cloak spreading out around him like great wings. At first I could not believe my eyes. And then it goes to say, worn clear of the mortar by the stress of years and thus using every projection and inequality, moved downwards with considerable speed, just as a lizard moves along a wall. What manner of man is this?
Which, until then, it's like, oh, it kind of evokes like imagery of a bat. That's pretty cool. And then it's, no, lizard.
It said the word lizard. And I was just picturing those little geckos that you get on Spain.
Yeah, just a tiny baby lizard. Yeah, I know.
Tiny little, like a newt looking thing.
Yeah.
That was, I'm not going to lie, that should not be the most memorable scene, but it is one of them because it just kicked me. That was one of them. One of my others is any scene that involves Van Helsing. I loved him.
He was a cookie guy.
He was everything I wanted and more. He had some interesting views. He had some interesting approaches, but any scene with him, I was locked in.
I did really enjoy him. I felt like, and I think I texted this to you actually while we were reading, if he was a woman, he would have been burned at the stake for being a witch.
100%. 100%.
Which I mean that in a complimentary way.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, with all respect, would have been.
Yeah, 100%. I don't understand the power, the charisma that man must have had.
The energy.
Yeah.
He was so energetic. He was just lively and so happy, and I don't know, it was just so jovial.
Optimistic.
So optimistic. You know, like, we can fight this. He had a great speech at the end. It was almost.
He did. Oh, that moment at the end where he said, "I may be old, but I can still die as a hero," or something like that, or like I'm not too.
Lines. What a cutie! I
loved him.
What a guy! I absolutely adored him. I thought he was brilliant. So that was all pretty memorable. Any scene with him. Also, I really enjoyed. Sorry, I'm not being very specific. It's quite a big book.
It's a long book.
I really enjoyed the early scenes between Mina and what's her friend's name? That's
Lucy.
Lucy, thank you. I want to say Chloe. Lucy.
That would have been modern.
Yeah, Chloe. I was thinking Chloe from Empire of the Vampire.
Of course, yeah.
I really enjoyed the scenes where they were interacting, because you could very clearly see that one of them was like, the other one's losing it. Like, she's losing it. And I thought that was quite interesting, because it made me think about how I think we are going to talk about this a bit more, but obviously how women are represented in this story.
Yeah.
I found it really interesting to see how they were represented, but there was such care for each other. They cared for each other, and they just really wanted each other to be safe. When specifically for one of them, when things were going a bit wrong, when she was being targeted by Dracula. But there was also this very looming idea of, but we have to appear that everything's fine.
Yeah.
You know, like keeping up appearances. And I thought that was, so when I say like if it's a standout scene, there's scenes that just really made me think as somebody in the modern day reading this. I found those bits quite interesting. And not a lot of that involves Dracula itself, but it's just I found all those, they just
the personal moments between the characters. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
All of the things that you've said. I think other than the lizard thing, the thing that really stands out to me is it's a really early scene, and it's when it's the descriptions of when Jonathan is arriving to the castle. I think that might be my favorite part of the whole book. Like, it really starts off with a bang, and I just thought the language used, the way it was written, that was the creepiest the book got, I thought. And like the howling of the wolves and the storm, and that just like the image of the castle like in the dark, I think Dracula, I think that, and then I think lizard. So yeah, just that opening introduction to the castle and to Dracula as a character. Yeah,
I remember you sending me your responses when we were both reading that chapter, because immediately you were like, why is he getting out of the carriage? Like, why is he going out? And because obviously the guy that's driving the carriage, steering the carriage, driving the carriage, whatever, controlling the horses, gets out, doesn't he? And I can remember you reacting to that, and then obviously immediately we thought, I wonder if that's him.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's him. And it was really quite spooky.
Yeah, that I found really memorable. I even I stopped and said, Joel, listen to this, and then made him listen to me read it out, and he was like, cool. But I was like, you don't get it. But I really loved that. Yeah. Okay, so you've kind of touched on what my next couple of questions for you were anyway, so it feels like a good time to bring it up. The representation of men and women in this book. What were your thoughts and feelings about it? I had many, good and bad.
I was actually I knew that you'd written these questions down, but I was going to ask you them because I think this is where I'd like to listen to you the most.
Do you want me to go first?
I will say I'll give my very brief as I can. You know what I'm like. I found how the women were presented really funny. I found it funny. It made me laugh because predominantly from Van Helsing, he had such belief in Mina, like she's so powerful, she's so strong, she doesn't even know how amazing she is, but also like, wow, how is she even capable of this? Like, she's a woman. But also how silly they all are. I think one scene that we both latched onto was when they all like lock Mina in a room and tell her, you can't be part of our meeting, this is really important, we're looking at defeating Dracula, and like they leave the window wide open, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like eye roll. I thought the women were very much written by a man in the 1800s.
Yeah, that's the best. Yeah, I didn't have a massive problem with it. Like, you go into a book like this knowing it was written in a different time, and there were times where I was actually like, oh, actually that's surprisingly modern. Like, there's Mina with her pistol at the end of this. I loved Mina, and I really respected how central. Obviously, Lucy is very central to driving the plot, but Mina is so central to the resolution of the plot, even if she not only comes up with a lot of information and kind of compiles it all and is the driving force behind them all, like getting their asses in gear, but she also physically goes out with them and is actively taking part in dealing with this. And there is a moment where they go, oh no, we can't include you anymore, it's too dangerous. And then they kind of go, oh, she's already in it, let's keep her involved. And I was surprised by that. Like, I thought that once she'd been literally put in a room and locked in, I thought that would be it. So on the one hand, that felt quite modern to me, that she was such an active part of the story.
Yeah.
There is then also, like you say, the written by a man in the 1800s of, it's very much like the men are the heroes and the women are the damsels in distress, and it's not even about defeating the monster that is Dracula, it's about protecting the soul of Lucy at the start, isn't it? And obviously it does feel a little bit sexually charged, in that Dracula is only preying on women. I don't know. I might be misremembering that, but obviously we've got Lucy and Mina are like his two like central victims that we follow. So
they're the ones that he predominantly like possesses.
yeah,
and then they're the ones that kind of have oddly sexual kind of.
yeah, and then you've got the wives as well, where it's like, and there's that whole like erotic experience that Jonathan has, and that does feel a little bit like the demonization of sexual women. So I do. I have mixed feelings about it, but they're not like overwhelmingly negative. And then I thought again with the men as well. At times I was really impressed with how modern it was, because these are like, yes, they're heroes on a quest, and yes, they've got to do their moral preaching, and you know, they for some reason believe Van Helsing, despite most of them not knowing him previously, and he's literally wanting to chop this guy's fiance's head off her corpse. That, yeah, sure, that sounds trustworthy. Other than that, they've got real sensitivity to them. And the like you were saying, the friendship between them as well as the friendship between Mina and Lucy, I did think that there was a lot of like emotion to them as well. Like they did have another side to them. So it was
brotherhood, wasn't there? There was
which was really sweet. I think it was my favorite thing about the book actually, was like the gang all getting together and like caring for each other, and like that moment where I can't remember his name, but Mina like offers him comfort essentially, and
yes,
and again, so we get to see a man being vulnerable, but then we've got the caveat here of, oh, but he can only be vulnerable because it's a woman, and you can't let men see him cry. So, but it's written in the 1800s, so exactly. Yeah, it was a mixed bag for me, but not in a bad way, just in a way that I expected, and then I was also pleasantly surprised in a lot of ways.
Yes. Yeah, no, I agree. I was pleasantly surprised by a lot of it, particularly with what you said about Mina, you know, and also her not being, because I felt that she was, it's just staring at me like, I'm getting the Puss in Boots eyes at the moment. I think, because Mina, I felt, was actually quite strong-willed.
Yeah.
She was very much like, I've gone and done my research. I know what's going on. I'm going to sit you all down and you're going to listen to me, and I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to go on. And they all sit there like, wow, she's actually got it. Like, it's like, by Jove, she's got it.
Yeah.
You know? And it felt very much like that. But it was quite, so when I kind of thought, oh, here we go. Actually, Bram did allow her to have that, and I thought, fair enough. I agree. I definitely loved all the friendships. I mean, this is why I say like, hello, friend Abby, every day, because the fact that Van Helsing was just like, friend John, you know, and things like that. You know, that kind of, that emotional connection between them all, and then, like I said, his speech right at the end. You know, like, we're all going to go together, and I will stand by you, and I'll protect you.
Yeah, it was lovely, wasn't it?
Achieve, like, to defeat this evil, and I just thought it was really quite sweet. I thought that a lot of the sort of commentary for women, predominantly for me, came in the first half of the book. Actually, pre Mina being possessed and things like that. It was all the letters between the women, because it very much did read as if they were like, you know, only thinking.
It was a man imagining what a woman might write to another woman, and it does not pass the Bechdel test. Basically, is the bottom line.
No. It just that bit, those bits made me giggle. But then I have to think, you know, when you do think about the time it was written in, like, not in a bad way, but what else would they have been doing at the time? I mean, I'd love to say that they would have been doing something really, but they probably wouldn't have been allowed to that much. So
that's a fair point. I don't know enough about it, but no, you're probably right.
It made me giggle a lot, but I like how it made me laugh how they all wanted to protect her. They really wanted to protect her, especially like her, what did you say? Not her honor. They wanted to put, like, her soul, you know, didn't they? They wanted to protect her soul and stuff from being damned and from being ruined by this awful monster.
There was one particular moment, which I think I texted you and was like, get me a bucket. And I can't remember which, was it Van Helsing that says about Mina? There's one line about something of like, she's such a like good woman, it makes me believe in heaven.
Yes, there is some. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
sorry, I've just found a little bit, and the amount. Can I just say, Abby, I stole your word because the amount of times I wrote the word sigh. Um. Okay, here's an example. To anybody who's not read it, this is an example. Ah, that wonderful Madam Mina. She has a man's brain, a brain that a man should have were he much gifted, and woman's
Mm,
heart. The good God fashioned her for a purpose, believe me, when he made that so good combination. Like,
yeah.
sure. We men are determined, nay, are we not pledged to destroy this monster? But it is no part for a woman. Even if she not be harmed, her heart may fail her in so much and so many horrors, and hereafter she may suffer, both in waking from her nerves and in sleep from her dreams. And besides, she is young woman, and not so long married. There may be other things to think of sometime.
Because what could she be thinking about if
What
not
else could she
babies?
possibly be thinking about? Meanwhile, Mina has literally been writing down like all the bus
L-
times, the train
Literally.
times, and
Whoever said that was thinking about babies more than Mina was. Just saying.
literally in the background, Mina's like, I'm not thinking about marriage. I'm going to learn the train schedule.
Yeah.
Learn the train schedule. So when they're all like, how are we going to get to the boat with Dracula on it? She's like, well, we can
I
get
just
the
know it.
12.
It's in my brain. I'm
Yeah,
magic. Yeah.
we can get the
Good old
12:11 on
Mina.
Thursday. It'll get us there in 3 hours. And they're all like, wow, she does something. And so yeah, those bits, but it was like that, like there were a few like comments about, um like women being like an angel or something like that because of, their
There was very much like an undertone of like purity versus non-purity,
100%.
particularly weighted towards the female characters and women in general. And I did think it was really interesting to kind of see the kind of juxtaposition of like Christianity and the not necessarily putting it against the folklore, because the folklore was presented to be as real as Christianity is presented to be as real. But I thought it was an interesting kind of the way it was woven together was quite interesting thematically.
I agree. There were I don't know. Did you tab as you were going?
I did not, purely because I have the cloth bound edition.
Ah,
And there's just something about tabs on a hardback that for me, I know lots of people tab their hardbacks. For me, I don't love it. I like to have a paperback to kind of tab and scribble on, and then keep my hardbacks kind of not pristine, because I will read them and chuck them in a bag and like I'm not worried about it. But
no,
I don't know.
I agree. I much prefer tabbing a paperback, but I used yellow tabs whenever there was a moment that I thought was an interesting commentary on women. And I just to say,
you ran out.
A lot of yellow tabs were used. There were a lot. It made me, but a lot of them oddly made me smile. I don't. It's just
I think it's different. Like we say, I know we talk about this a lot in fantasy as well, because it depends for me a lot about when something's published as to what my mindset going into something is. And if something was written last year and there's a bit of an undertone to it and I'm not expecting it, I will find that really jarring and it will take me out of it. And I'll be like, I don't want to read this actually because I'm not going to enjoy it. But then going into something like this or into something like, I mean, I'm going to use A Song by Pharaoh as an example because it's up there. And we're going to be buddy reading that together next year. And I think, is it a reread for both of us? It is, isn't it?
Not completely. I've only read book 1.
Cool. So I have read them all, but I read them a really long time ago. And I was a very different person and my prefrontal cortex was not done cooking when I read them. So I'm interested to see how I feel about the kind of representation of women in something like that. But it's different when you go in knowing it or expecting it. And I'm not saying that we should have to be used to it or that you should have to expect it, but that's being a reader as a woman, unfortunately, isn't it? Like,
yeah. And
So
there is a side that I think that's something we could probably do a whole episode,
yeah,
talking about
probably.
specifically when we've, had some of our buddy reads from next year. But there is a part of me, it's something that I am learning to think about more in my reading, the further into my reading journey I'm getting. But I did naturally have an expectation with this book, that just purely because of the time it was published in.
Well, also it's set in the real world as well. Like something like this, I almost read it as like a historical fiction in a lot of ways, because it was written in a time and it was set in that time, and in the real world, which this is set in, those were the attitudes.
Exactly.
So I kind of take it with a pinch of salt. It's very different when you go into something in a fantasy world and you're like, because you could imagine all this, but you couldn't imagine a non-patriarchal world. Great, good for you. Go back to school. But it's different, isn't it, when you read just something that's set in the real world and in a different time. So yeah, I didn't have a problem with any of it really. It didn't affect my experience. It just, like you said, made me chuckle.
Yeah, me too. And it was an interesting. Well, I guess using what you've just said, it was kind of like an interesting step back in time, wasn't it? Because you can kind of see what the mindset was. And actually, I was quite pleasantly surprised.
I was too, yeah.
Definitely more. I had a few eye roll moments, but most things that sometimes get said about women nowadays still make me eye roll. So,
yeah, very good point.
I'm just going to. I've only got. I'm kind of looking at sort of like in terms of wrapping this up. I think we probably have spoken about this quite a lot, but I do have to ask, and actually I know it's on your list. Who is your favourite character?
I think it was Mina. It's a toss-up between Mina and Van Helsing, but I think Mina takes it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm so glad you said that, because you and me are the same person. Same. Both of them.
I really, really loved Van Helsing. I think when I was reading it, he was my favourite. Yeah. But like the more distance I've had from the book, Mina has kind of, in my heart a bit more. I just really loved her.
She I'm going to do a very reader thing and say she had a very interesting arc, didn't she?
She did.
I think she would have initially appeared to be quite a background character, but she had such an important role to play. And I also thought she was sassy.
She was, yeah. I thought she was really modern.
Yeah, I imagined her being like, "Oh, my boys," but also being like, "Oh, my boys." Like they just. I think she would sort of think, "Oh, like I love them. They mean well, but gosh, they're absolutely useless." I feel like she kind of. I agree, both of them. I think Van Helsing kind of gave that energy, that kind of enigmatic, fun, quite funny and quite oddly outrageous at points, lightheartedness to it, and that belief that like we can do this, guys.
Yeah.
Like, the motivator, wasn't he? Whereas I think Mina was that kind of strong-willed, really trying to break through the kind of the patriarchy, but also the brains. I think
she was the brains of the operation.
To be fair,
and Van Helsing. Van Helsing was also the brain. I'll give him that.
They were both the brains, weren't they?
They were just besties. I love to think about them like at post the end of this story, just being like besties, and everyone else is like, "Oh, for God's sake, guys!"
Yes. Do you remember that time when?
Yeah, I just loved them.
And then I thought I have to say I do quite like Jonathan Seward's character, because I thought he was so patient. Can you imagine dealing with, not only have you got like, you own a whole mental asylum, a whole one, that's got to be stressful. Your main I'm going to say the word lunatic. He is a lunatic. The guy. What's he called?
Renfield.
Him.
Renfield? Yeah.
Yes. Crikey.
That's a whole full-time job managing that guy.
Wow. Right? He was all over the place. Can you imagine looking after him and then getting a random telegram or whatever from, Van Helsing, like, meet me at the dock in 2 days, and then meeting
No
with Van
context.
Helsing, right? And then him just saying, okay, I've gone away and I've thought about it. Basically, we've got to deal with this vampire. Tells him loads of stuff, and then he has to go and help Jonathan with his wife that's losing the plot.
Yeah.
But the whole time, cool as a cucumber.
Yeah.
And I thought,
and also,
got it together.
I thought it was really sweet the way that all three of these men proposed to Lucy, and none of them kind of held it against each other. Like, it was like a fair play, good for you, happy for you that you got a yes, that's great. And then they all just kind of were like, yeah, we'll do what we can. I thought that was sweet.
I thought that was sweet.
Yeah.
They could have held a grudge.
Yeah, they could have, but they didn't.
They didn't. They weren't petty. It was great. Yeah. Oh yes, because that's where the letters were when she'd received all the proposals, wasn't it? And then she's like, yeah, and that's when she mentioned, I've received one from the guy from the mental asylum. Oh, that just. I just pictured Jonathan with like a huge forehead.
I do as well. Yeah.
Massive. It's fantastic. But no, I would agree. I think Van Helsing and Mina are just standouts. Absolute standouts.
Okay, my final question for you.
Oh dear.
I think this is probably a good one to end on. It feels like a nice wrap up. Did this book inspire you to read any other books? And if so, what were they? But then also, fun addition that I just thought of is, do you have any recommendations, like, from this book? Did it remind you of anything, or did it remind you of books that you have read that you think if people read this and enjoyed it, they would enjoy those?
Great 2-part question. Well, I was going to flip it onto you, but I'm going to quickly flip it onto you before I answer properly, because my answer will link to yours, I think. A book that it has made me want to read, that it is going to influence, is one that you pretty much read immediately after, which is Carmilla.
I did. Yes. Yeah, I went straight onto that one. Carmilla, I enjoyed it. I did really enjoy it. I think in some ways, reading it straight after Dracula didn't do it any favors, because I could see where the inspiration had come from. But I kind of went in expecting something very gothic and atmospheric, and it's quite a simple story.
Okay.
And it kind of relies a lot on dialogue, which kind of took some of the atmosphere away for me, but as its own thing, very cool. And it's really cool to see kind of the origins of that kind of thing, and kind of track, like, me, I love to kind of read something and then read the thing it's inspired by, and then read all the other things that inspired that, and go on a proper little deep dive. So I think, and it's such a short read, and especially I did it on audio, and it's like, I think like a 3-hour audiobook or something.
Great.
So I just listened to it one Sunday afternoon while I was meal prepping, and it was great. So yeah, I would recommend that. But it is quite different. It's a very different read. It's shorter. It came before. Yeah.
It's on my shelf. I've got it.
The other thing that I read immediately after was Frankenstein. Like, this really put me in the mood to read Frankenstein. And I didn't know when I read it how similar they were, like, thematically in terms of format, but they are very, very similar. So yeah.
It's been a long time since I read Frankenstein. I studied it in school, so I was maybe 14 or 15. So it's been a long time. So I would love to reread it, because I know it's absolute genius. But I could say I've read it, but it would be like going into it blind, because it's been that long.
Yeah.
I would love to. It has definitely did this. I think we sort of spoke about it a bit at the beginning, where I kind of said, I've always been a little bit worried about classics. I always get a little bit nervous that I won't understand it, or that a lot of it's going to go over my head, or that it's inaccessible. And I think Dracula really proved to me that that's not the case. And this was actually incredibly modern. And I would urge anybody who's been thinking about it or has been on the fence to, like, absolutely go for it. In terms of inspiration, I'm with you. Carmilla has been on my list for a while, and I do want to try it. I'm going to do what you didn't do, which is give it a little bit of breather space. I was thinking about going straight into it, but my TBR was
you had a packed TBR, yeah.
Yes. So I'm going to give it a bit of time, but I am going to read it, and I'm actually thinking of buddy reading it with Harry, with my partner. I think we're going to do it together at some point because I think he's interested in it as well. This also, hello dog. This has also made me want to read. This is also off the back of Empire with a Vampire as well, but this has also made me want to read Interview with a Vampire.
Me too. Yeah.
By Anne Rice, because I know obviously that's sort of like a modern classic. So I do really want to read that.
Rachel Book of the Witch, she just started it and she really loved it. I think she did the audiobooks. I don't know if she's read more than the first one, but she said it was fantastic and she thought that we would really like it. So
brilliant. I think I've forgotten what her handle is. Her name's Amber. You know who I mean.
Lost in Fictional Places. It's her like all-time fave, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, I love Amber.
Yes. Amazing tattoos. Bookish ones. Oh, beautiful. But yes, she's great, and I know she's a huge fan. So it's really made me want to read that. And I know there's a couple of films for Interview with the Vampire, and I'd really like to read it before I watch it. So that those are the kind of things it sort of made me want to read, sort of post this experience. But generally, it has also just made me want to pick up a few more classics as well, not just sort of specifically linking to vampires, but just be a bit more confident with picking up classics, because actually, you know, they're not to be. I shouldn't be afraid of them. I shouldn't be worried about approaching them.
I agree, and I think this is a really good one for that, because like we were saying, or like I said at the start, I did not like. I'm aware that there's a lot of analysis and discourse around this book, but I was not thinking about it while I was reading it. Like, I didn't need to have that access point in order to enjoy this as a story or as a reading experience. And I'm sure that all of that discourse is great, and I will look at it, but it wasn't necessary at all for this. And the same with Frankenstein, and the same with Jane Austen. They're just great stories.
Exactly, and that's what it ultimately is, isn't it? It's a story, and it doesn't have to be analysed really deeply. And even if, I annotated mainly because I knew that we were going to be doing.
We were going to talk about it.
I wanted to have it, but you don't have to do this. You can just do what we did and read a chapter a day and yap about how funny Dracula as a lizard is. It can be that unserious, but you can still get so much fun from it. But I think it's just I think a book like this is a great one to do with somebody, so that you can have those conversations, especially when it's written so long ago. And it's interesting to get those interpretations from, like you've just said, so many things that I completely resonated with but had not thought about. So it's
same for you. Yeah,
I love. You're welcome. It's great. I think it's also just reinforced for me why I think vampires are such a great inventions. Doesn't seem like the right word.
No, it's made me want to read so many vampire books.
Yes, they are. And I think this is part of why I love Empire of the Vampire so much and things like that, is I just think inherently there's so much about them that is so, because they're human, aren't they? They are weirdly human, but they're also really
horrific,
really not. And I think it explores so much of, that I think there's a line in here. Now, I don't want to, if I can't find it immediately, I don't want to, take too long, but there was a bit, oh no, here it is. The fact that something that's obviously hugely in conversation when you're talking about vampires is the fact that I think they always appear to be weirdly like smug.
Yeah.
And kind of love the fact that they are what they are. But actually, what I really liked about this book is that there was an odd vulnerability to him. Like obviously the fact that he can't like cross water, he can't come out in daylight. So it's very much like he had to be transferred. He had to be transferred in like soil, didn't he?
Yeah.
From his land, and had to be in his coffin. And all these different things like that. It made me feel. It gave me this impression of a vampire that you don't often get, which is actually that they are
vulnerable.
Really restricted. Yeah, they're really vulnerable. And there was also
makes you realize it is a curse,
literally. And there's also this interesting aspect where they've lived for so long but they're not living anymore, so they're not having any experiences. And I think he said something. Oh yeah. Ever since I had the idea of going to London, they've given me many, many hours of pleasure. Through them, I have come to know your great England, and to know her is to love her. I long to go through the crowded streets of your mighty London, to be in the midst of the whirl and rush of humanity, to share its life, its change, its death, and all that makes it what it is. But alas, as yet, I only know your tongue through books. To you, my friend, I look that I know it to speak. So it's just that it's like this. He's so vulnerable.
He's been trapped. Yeah,
trapped in this endless life. And I thought that's something that it is explored. I mean, I think I'm gonna say it.
Jay Kristoff does a great job with Fabian Voss with that.
Jay Kristoff does a great one. I'm gonna say it. Stephanie Meyer does a great job. You know, the whole graduation caps. It's this perpetual, like, we don't die, or we find it really hard to die. So you are trapped. And I think that it was explored really well here, where I think he's totally, Jonathan Harker finds him utterly terrifying and so odd, but weirdly, like, relatable. Like you can have a conversation.
He has moments, even because he cottons on, doesn't he, quite early, of like, oh, there's something odd here. I feel like I'm a prisoner. But even after he has that realization that he's a prisoner, he has moments of connection with Dracula where he's like, oh, that was an interesting conversation. Like he doesn't.
Like he opened up. It's almost like he trusts him. And sorry, I've gone way off on a tangent there, but I think that
was a good tangent.
That it explored those sort of emotions and those sort of feelings, and I really liked that. So it's made me think of all the, like, adaptations and things. But yes, sorry, to answer your question, predominantly Carmilla and Interview with the Vampire are on my list, as well as just other classics as well. But yeah, sorry, I went on there.
No, that's great.
That there was a vulnerability to him that I thought was really interesting, especially from a monster like point of view. I thought that was cool. But yeah, Abi, that was great.
Was great.
Any closing thoughts? Anything that I have missed? We've probably not spoken about loads of things, but is there anything you want to throw out there?
No, I think that about covers it. I just really enjoyed reading this one with you. I love buddy reading books with you. It's my favourite way to read.
Enrichment.
And it's even better now that we yap about it. So
exactly, it's our favourite enrichment activity, isn't it?
Really is. Yeah,
it's great. And actually, it's not going to be too long until our next episode. We're actually, hopefully, we may be able. We should have a couple coming out soon. So we've got a plan in December. We're hoping to potentially have a little touch on Lord of the Rings at some point, aren't we? Hoping to touch on Lord of the Rings and give an update about our journey with that, an unexpected journey, if you will.
It's incredibly expected. We planned it in like May.
Literally in February, I was like, when are we going to read it?
We're reading Lord of the Rings.
Thinking about that for so long. So potentially a little Lord of the Rings chat at some point. And we will be buddy reading I think we should probably also touch on Tawny Man at some point. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Yeah, because we are about 50% of the way through Fool's Fate right now. And not okay. I haven't been okay since about the 75% mark of Fool's Errand, to be honest. So it's been horrendously wonderful. It's awful. So yes, we will need to talk about that in depth. We need to talk about Tawny Man. We will also be talking about a hugely highly anticipated read, I would say, for both of us, which is The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wong, which we will be both reading in December. So we will be touching on that at some point, doing an episode on that, which I can't wait for. I've got my beautiful edition that Andrew, Brother Grimdark on Instagram, sent me in the post. Oh, I know, that was so lovely. Person ever. If you're watching, Andrew, thank you again. So we will be reading that in December. And we also are planning some fun episodes. We are hoping in December to do a bit of a roundup of favourites from each genre in 2025. I can't wait to hear all of Abby's choices. I'm really excited about that. I'm already like struggling to choose for some, but I'm looking forward to that one. Yep. And I'm not going to talk to you about what's on my list. I think we should just come in and it's
Yeah.
like, we just go for it. I think it would be also really cool in January if we spoke about some of our, like, what we want to achieve reading wise in 2026.
I agree.
So we've got so much time for activities.
Yes. Except we don't have time for the activities because we barely have time to do anything. But yeah, we're going to try and film.
We're going to try and film. We've got lots of things upcoming. And do you know what? I will also say that this is, if anybody genuinely has anything that they want us at some point to discuss, whether it's a topic or a specific book that's been recommended by you guys that you actually want to see us talk about, rather than what Abby and I are just being selfishly choosing, then please also let us know in the comments, because why not?
And if you made it this far,
comment.
First of all, thank you so much for watching. Second of all, comment about. Third of all, let us know if you have read Dracula, what you thought of it. And if you haven't, do you think you might read it?
I'm sorry, but can I just say, if after what we've just said, someone's like, it's not for me, I mean,
good for them for making it through like 90 minutes of this then.
Is this entertainment?
I don't know.
It's entertainment for me.
It's enrichment time for us, and that's
it's our enrichment time. This is what we do when we want to have fun. We just yap about books.
We really do.
But yes, comment about whether you're going to read Dracula, if you have read it, all of your thoughts. And just thank you for joining us as we ramble about the stuff we love. It was great.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you, Ashley, for having me again.
Abby, thank you for joining me. And we will see you all again soon. Bye.
Bye.